Islamophobia and anti-Semitism.
Yeah.
But also other forms of repression, anti-immigrant repression, misogyny, ableism, homophobia, transphobia.
Wow.
And these new movements recognize that no struggle for freedom can be complete without an internationalist context. Thus, the connections with the movements for justice in Palestine. New models of leadership are emerging. And I emphasize the Black queer women's leadership, Black trans leadership, not for identitarian reasons, but rather because this kind of collective leadership can help extricate us from assimilationalist frameworks and objectives. And keep us radical. Recognizing the importance of incorporating routines of self-care into our struggle. We cannot work ourselves to death with no thought about how we're going to continue. If we destroy ourselves, we will suffer and our movements will suffer. So learning how to care for the self, for our bodies, for our spirits, for our imagination, eating well, which requires us to popularize critiques of capitalist, industrialized food production. Capitulation to Monsanto, critiques of the violence inflicted on animals for the sole purpose of producing food for profit, which at the same time damages the health of those who eat it. But this is just the beginning of a very long story. Freedom is a constant struggle. Thank you.
Probably have time for like 3 or 4 questions. So make them really good, really short. And we've got mics down here being guarded by Robert, and on this side by Ami. So don't be shy. Come on down. How often are you going to get this opportunity? Aloha. I have waited 44 years.
Angela Davis, my name is Dr. Elise B. Lewis. I want to start off by thanking you for planting the seeds of courage in my soul, along with my father, who was percussionist for Rainbow Push for 10 years. Not too many people know this. I was bullied in 8th grade, a little bit. I won't believe that now because I'm a giant. nickname me Angela Davis. And give her. Thank you for that. It's just a beautiful thing. I don't want to get too heavy duty or what have you, take too much time. I'm a little bit nervous. But I guess the main thing I wanted to say real quick is that because of you and other activists, but particularly because of you, coming out of high school, I was very, very strong from an activist, if you will, from a political perspective and wanting to really be involved in politics on some level or another. So I was very fortunate to be involved with the election of our first and only African-American female Senator Karen Mosher-Braun, who ran her campaign. Sister, because of you, I ran that campaign in the Capitol. I ran it, okay? I ran it. It was like maybe 50 black people, what have you. And she won by like 3 or 4%. Thank you for the courage. The main thing I want to just ask you really quickly, I said that already. I recently read that it was your sister who came to your aid when you were falsely accused of the unthinkable crimes you were accused of. And it blew me away because I never knew that piece of history of you. My sister and I, she tried to compete with me, but she's 5 years younger than me. That would never work. That would never work. Can you speak to that a little bit about how you felt when your sister came here, when your sister fought for you? When she was in those trenches, and right there, just giving you that love and putting them down and getting you out of that mess.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I have to say that it wasn't me alone. It was, as a matter of fact, no one would know my name had it not been for the fact that people all over the country, people here in Hawaii, people in other countries around the world, became involved in the campaign for my freedom. As Robert pointed out, James Baldwin wrote this amazing letter that it ended with, "If they come for you in the morning, they will be coming for us at night." And so my sister was one of those people who responded. Actually, my entire family got involved. It wasn't just my sister Fania. Although she did travel to, I think she came here, she went to Canada, she went to Europe, she went to Chile, and I was in Rome for the very first time with my partner just a couple of weeks ago. And when I came home, I asked my sister, I said, "Fania, did you go to Rome when you were traveling?" And she said, "Yeah, I was." So she had just had a baby. The baby was not even a year old. And my mother kept the baby. The baby was named after me. She wanted to name the baby Angela Liebring, and I said, "Absolutely not. Do not burden that child." So she named her Angela Issa. So my mother traveled around the U.S. with the baby, and there are pictures of her holding the baby in one hand and her fist in the air, speaking, urging people to join the campaign for my freedom. My entire family, my father spoke, my brother, who was a football player for the Cleveland Browns. He organized one of the largest political rallies in Cleveland that had happened since the 1930s. And guess what? He ended up sitting on the bench for a year, which he said was fine with him. But yeah, my family was very, very active. expect your family to do that. And it wasn't something that made me think that something special was going on, because I knew that they would all support me. What I didn't know was that people all over the world who had never met me, who had no idea of who I was, would join the campaign for my freedom. And that was the amazing thing, because we were facing, as Robert pointed out, Richard Nixon was the president, and Ronald Reagan was the governor, and J. Edgar Hoover was the head of the FBI. And so regardless of the fact that I was innocent, people did not believe that it was going to be possible to win against the most dangerous forces in the world. And it was only because this movement of people, many of them were communists, many of them weren't. I guess there must be some communists in the house. Thank you very much. And so when I speak about that period, I say that was the most important lesson. And that lesson is a lesson that's still valuable today, because we need to build the same kinds of movements, same kinds of international, transnational campaigns today. But by the way, I wasn't, you showed me a picture of yourself with, she said with my fro, but it wasn't mine. Because I was wearing my hair like everybody else. You know, I did not invent the afro. Somehow I have the historical burden, you know, which surprises me every time I think about it. You know, because I remember looking at Odetta, and I remember, you know, looking at, you know, Miriam Makeba, and Jean Pace, and all these other women. But, you know, that's what history is all about.
I would just like to make a comment. I'm 58 years old. I've been telling this story about how Angela Davis inspired me to write in all of my little white dolls, Black Power. We had a little black and white TV. I saw you on TV, late 9, 10, 11 years old. You had an afro. And you wear Black Power. You wear Black Power. That stuck with me. I was living in Atlanta, Georgia. That stuck with me to this day. And I tell everybody about my little dolls, and I wrote Black Power. I don't have their arms. I was trying to cover them with black magic light. My parents thought I had lost my mind. I want to thank you. Thank you. Grandchildren, about Angela Davis. Yeah, thank you.
Angela Davis, thank you. My name is Leslie Matthews, and I'm a student at the law school. And I also get the opportunity to chair the Western region at the National Black Law Student Association, overseeing 11 states and many schools. And so I appreciate that you spoke about wanting to join different movements, how we can't just be about the Black movement, we can't just be about the gay movement, we can't just be about our movement. So my goal as chair of the National Black Law Student Association is to really connect movements so that we can evoke change that you're speaking about. And even at the risk of losing, I have family members that tell me, well, you're so Afrocentric, what is this? And why is there this Black Lives Matter movement, and why does it matter And there are people that are related to me, that look like me, and share the same skin color as me, that don't understand why this matters. So it takes a lot to still have the courage, and I'm like, thank you. I will be unapologetic because you are. My question is, how do we bridge, I feel like I can use this next year as chair to bridge these movements so that we can really evoke change, not just for ourselves, because as you said, if they come for me tonight, they'll come for you in the morning. And I am so passionate about so many different movements and want to do it without negating people that say, well, we just need to care about the Black movement, or we just need to care about this movement. What is your advice on how we can join these movements?
So, you're referring to BALSA?
Yes.
Okay, yeah, because I have a long history with BALSA and the National Conference of Black Lawyers, NCBL, as well, because BALSA came out of NCBL. And these organizations have always recognized the extent to which struggling for Black freedom is a struggle for the freedom of all people. And you know, sometimes there are those who don't quite get this, who think that if you emphasize Black issues or Black struggles, that somehow or another in the 21st century this is racist. And then there are people who get upset about the slogan Black Lives Matter because they think you should be saying all lives matter. But as I was saying during my talk, this conceals what you might call the tyranny of the universal category. Because when all lives matter, you're not attending to those lives who get excluded from the very category of the human. And so there are ways of expressing this connection. I was talking about the link that has been created over the last period between Black struggles and Palestinian struggles, and that's so important, not only for what the two struggles can offer each other, but for what it represents in terms of the internationalism of that necessarily should animate all of our struggles for justice. It was Dr. Martin Luther King who said that justice is indivisible. You can't decide who to dole out justice to. You can't, if you really are for justice, it has to be recognized as indivisible. And so what I would suggest is that you make strategic decisions about how to express that larger approach. Whether you decide that BALSA is going to do work around gender violence or do work around violence against trans people who trans people of color constitute the most criminalized populations, not only in the U.S. and probably not only here, but probably all over the world. So you make those decisions strategically, but you don't work only with the specific struggles. You represent them as calling for an acknowledgement of the interconnectedness of all struggles for freedom, of all struggles for justice.
Thank you so much for being here. I'm actually coming today from teaching at the Capital Juvenile Detention Center, and this question comes to mind for me as a teacher in this context. How do we prevent people from turning to substance abuse such as methamphetamine?
wish there were a formula. You know, I wish we had a formula where we could, with certainty, encourage effectively people not to engage in that kind of drug practice. But the problem is, this entire society depends on drugs. You know, everywhere you turn, you see the impact of the pharmaceutical companies. And as I was saying before, we have to learn how to make connections. So it's not actually completely wrong to argue that the rise in the use of illicit drugs is related to the rise in the use of licit drugs. Because the pharmaceutical companies, for the purpose of profit, try to persuade us that whatever problem we have, there's a drug that's going to solve it. And on the television commercials, they ask you to ask your doctor about particular drugs. And so, you know, it's a major issue, and I think it has to do with creating different institutions, creating conditions that will allow people to express themselves and to imagine their futures and to engage in learning, so that they don't have to be focused on the immediate problem of trying to figure out how to escape the life that one is living. When one learns how to love the life that one is living, then I don't think there is nearly as much interest in the escapist factor of drugs. But thank you for the work that you're doing.
So I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but this does mean that we have to do, and because we only have the theater until 8:30 and we have to all be out by 9, so I really am sorry. But let me say this is not the last event. There is one more event on Wednesday at the Mission Memorial Auditorium, which is just Diamond Head of City Hall. And that is at 6 p.m. and it is a conversation with Governor John Waihee in reflection in thinking about their lifelong dedication to activism and civil engagement. So this does not have to be the last time that you see Angela Davis. I want to thank Kennedy Theater, thank University Foundation, and all of you for coming to and bearing with us because we had such an overwhelming crowd. And yeah.